Oh, I'm driving my truck and trailer. That song, I have no idea where it came from or why, but that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm podcasting from my pickup truck, my 1996 diesel 7.3 liter towing a trailer on my work commute, so that's the background noise. But I want to talk to you guys about the practice of not giving a what anyone thinks. I've done a few of these, and this one always inspires me. And I hope to be an inspiration to you guys too, because I think it's the ultimate leverage of mindset for freedom. Because when you stop carrying around all the weight, you stop trying to impress people, and you start really caring about what you want to do. That's what we're going to talk about today. And maybe a couple little tips on how to do that. I mean, look at this show. Look at me. I should be an embarrassment. In fact, to some people I am, and I'm going to talk about that today and how I really don't give a shit, because I've really come up. I've really helped my environment. I've helping myself, my children. Our lives are getting better, and a lot of it I have to do is I have to pay homage to, I guess as the saying goes, to not giving a F. Dang it, and I messed up. As you probably can't tell, or can tell, this is a potty mouth podcast. So with that, let's get into the show. Welcome to another edition of Up and In It. I'm your host, Adrian Babashoff, and if you're new here, welcome as well. And if you're wondering what this show is about, it's entirely dedicated to improving quality of life for both people and for the planet, exploring alternatives to the daily grind through liberation and independence, moving you from surviving to thriving and living life raw. So I got embarrassed, you guys. Y'alls, I got embarrassed for about a minute. And this was a couple weeks ago, and I just started kind of looking around. I'm not sure how to do these dating things. I'm a single dad, for those of you who don't know. There's all these dating apps and stuff, so I've been kind of just like messing around with them, just like looking at what's out there. I'm not really too serious. I enjoy my freedom, and not to say that it wouldn't be freedom, not to say, but it's pretty free right now, being rolling solo, with my dork truck. As a matter of fact, I just don't know if I could even... if it's even possible for me to get into a relationship again. But I started just kind of talking, like just seeing who's out there, and mostly as a friend. I just kind of put some messages out there, took some funny pictures. You could tell by my profile, it wouldn't be anything serious. You'd be like, what a clown. This guy's not even really trying. And I also put on there, on these dating site things, there's this one, and just put on there, look, I'm not really looking to hook up something, like, see where everything kind of goes, but like, let's talk and be friends first. Let's human up. And then, maybe at the worst case scenario, find somebody cool to talk to that are maybe interested in things that, we share similar interests. But I started looking at my lifestyle, and it really, really kind of hit me again. It's happened before. And I was just kind of like, oh man, I live in a simple, what I deem as a tiny house. I don't know why you would spend, tens of thousands of dollars when you could spend like 10 to 20 grand and get yourself a huge palace travel trailer. What I guess I'm trying to spit out of my morning mouth here. And for half the cost, everything's already built. It's got a heater, water heater, AC, running water and everything. It's already plumbed in, man. And it's somebody's mistake where they bought something, couldn't handle it, and now they just want to pawn it off to somebody else for pennies on the dollar. I don't know. I guess not giving a shit what people think about you, but kind of looking at it going, well, if you're going to let this piece of machinery that I can purchase where I couldn't even purchase the materials to build it myself for, yeah, I'll definitely take it off your hands. But yeah, it's a strange feeling of embarrassment, and for just a minute. But when I really think about it, I think now more of you guys and propriety. I've got this on my notes here, and the amount, it just really hit me the other day and it continues to, of how many things that we do in the name of propriety, or because it's an agreed law. I don't even think it's even agreed. It's not that we got up one day and we all just said, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is what everybody does. This is proper etiquette, depending on what part of the world you're from. Like, for instance, I bought some pho soup the other day when I was over at work, and the guys put their two fingers, I think, on their left forearm, as they extend the money out to you, or, when you're doing a deal, and it's a thing of respect. So it's etiquette. I forgot about this. I had a Korean friend years ago. I haven't seen that for decades, and I just watched this guy. I was just intrigued by these, I wouldn't say hereditary, by these I can't think of the words. I guess it's too damn early. I should have wiped the shit out of my ears and my eyes first. Traditional things, basically. And how many of these things, how many of these thoughts are actually holding us back? Now, I spoke a lot on my show, too, about getting rid of things and people in your life, shedding all this stuff so that you can actually be you, get to where you need to go. And then what you find is that you're your worst enemy. And you need to work on that. You need to deal. Once you get past all that stuff, and some of it could be pretty ugly. I think it's something that a lot of people aren't willing to face, that they're ugly. But I think the majority of people are beautiful. I think that we just have this veil and these certain restrictions and things that were put, these customs, these traditions put into place to make you feel like you're ugly or that you're doing wrong. When absolutely there's nothing wrong with you. It's just the thought that you think that something's wrong with you. So we don't, to me, and the embarrassment, I think when I think of you guys, a lot of you guys, I'm not saying all of you, but I was in the same boat for a long time too, where it really mattered what I looked like. When I stepped out of the house, if I had a black and white sock on, it would be like embarrassing, If my underwear were sticking out the back of my pants, I guess that's kind of cool now. I'm a roofer and a construction worker, so it happens to me all the time without me even having to try. Not to say that I'm something special or something, but the car you drive, the way you speak. One of them was for new listeners. That was a big moment in my life when I heard at a party. I was sitting in between the crowd of children and the crowd of adults, and equally they were all swearing, cussing up a storm. I don't see what the big deal about swearing is. We all love to go to the movies. Some of the best movies are when there's F-bombs galore and there's violence and nudity. And I think violence and rape and things like that is a hell of a lot worse than a swear word, But when are we going to stop this propriety? When are we going to start thinking outside the box here and start focusing on things that really matter instead of the aesthetics of things? What's the functionality? I think that's a really, really big one. And I think that's our biggest problem, man. Our biggest problem is these old traditions, these customs, and this propriety. And as soon as we get rid of that, I think the happier and healthier we're all going to be. And that's when we stop focusing on what we look like and what we appear like, and start focusing on actually what we want to do, and start getting ahead. I think about this show, and I've talked about this to you guys before, where, I don't have the Lamborghini. I don't have two fine chicks standing on either side of me, a wad of $100 bills, although I can procure that for you if that's what you guys wanted, but I don't see what the point of that is. I'm a thousandaire, not a millionaire. I don't look the part. I think that's the thing, is that the integrity of the show, I don't necessarily fear it at all, because I know that my message and the things I'm talking are a message I would like to say, because I know I'm not the only one. John Lennon, I'm not the only one out there. I know that there's other people who want to think this way, who already think this way, and I think it maybe just takes a few of us to have the balls to make a clown out of ourselves and go out there and just say it, not giving a fuck what anybody thinks. But I could see a lot of people shying off, just looking, going, this guy's not successful. What does this guy have to show for himself? It doesn't appear, it's not your traditional thing. And all these things that we speak of on this show is not traditional. That was the word I was looking for earlier. Thank you. Traditions. All these traditions of how these things, where they come from. Tell you guys a story I heard somewhere where there was a guy who had a young wife, or a young couple, and they made a pot roast, and she cut the tip off the pot roast and put it in the pan, even though it was not even necessary. So this guy, the husband, observes this. Then they go out to dinner at their in-laws' house, and he notices the mom does the same thing, cuts the tip off this roast and put it in the pan, even though it's not necessary. One day, years later, they go to the grandparents' house, grand-in-laws, I guess you'd call them, and he finally asked, he saw the grandma cut it and put it in the little pan where it was necessary, because, and asked her, why does your family always cut the tip off the roast that way? She goes, well, I see this old pan, I've had it since it was passed down from my mother, and a lot of times we can't fit the roast in there, so we just cut the tip off, and that way everything fits. And he goes, oh, so that's where it came from. But meanwhile, both the daughters of this woman, even though it was not necessary, it was tradition. They thought that maybe it was some way they were taught as children to cut the tip off the roast, and maybe there's something there. They're never thinking about the logic of, oh, I don't really need to cut the roast. I could do things my way or different. So you guys get the gist of what I'm saying, of how easily we fall into patterns, and then we all start judging and hurting each other sometimes physically, mentally. It's a separation because people don't have the same ideologies or the same viewpoint. And I think this is completely ridiculous. When I think about you guys and I think about me, I think that you should start caring more, giving a fuck about what you want, not what you think everybody wants you to be, which was a big, one of my things, this is actually a funny story. I'm gonna go off because I think I scared this woman away on one of these dating sites. We were talking about life in general, and I said the thing that inspires me sometimes the most is the regrets from the old and dying. And I failed to put in there that it's an Australian author, a woman nurse who actually spent time with him. So I think she might have thought I was a serial killer or something. She disappeared. She was gone. She didn't get the gist of it. You know, I could kind of, when I think about it now, I was like, oh, I see why. But getting back to that is that there was the dying regrets, like 10, 15 of them that were just thousands of people had the same regrets. And it's inspiring. And one of them was that I wish I would have done things for myself more instead of worrying about what other people thought of me or pleasing other people. I wish I would have pleased myself. And when I think about that, I think about what I want for like this show for my life, what you want for your show. Let's just stop fucking playing around and giving a shit, you know, wearing our costumes, okay? We talked about The Emperor Has No Clothes. You should read that story if you haven't. It's a children's story, but very, very peculiar. Nobody wants to point out that the Emperor is naked. He's not wearing any fucking clothes, except for a little kid who just doesn't know any better. He's just completely honest, not scared of their opinion. Maybe we should go back to how we were as children when we had love and joy in our hearts, and we were open to like meet new people. Like, hey, you want to go skateboarding? You want to go walk and catch some frogs? Or, you know, you never know. Everybody's an adventure. Everything's a mystery, and there's magic in life, and it's open. Whatever happened to all of us? I think it's because of this propriety and these traditions and these customary things and these unwritten laws and stuff that's holding us back. So let's stop giving a fuck about that shit. Start giving a fuck about what we want. So I want to talk a little bit about the illusion of success and happiness. Like we were talking about these people who have the Lamborghinis and the 2 chicks and anybody who has to go and show off and tell how great you are, you're probably not that fucking great. Although there is some people I think that could flaunt it and fucking, like some of these movie stars and rock stars, they own it, man. They, as we say in this show, they own it and they bone it. And there's no which way or they're like, no, you got this, you're beautiful, handsome, whatever, awesome, you're multi-fucking talented. I don't even know why or how you were brought into physically human existence. You know, you're insane. But for the most of us, I think I see, probably going to get in trouble, but especially, I think men and women. There, I didn't get in trouble. I'm going to attack both of them. But I think women are looking for this part in the men by wearing yoga pants and these skirts and this stuff. Like for women, I think wearing black, dark clothes with a jacket on makes you look thinner. And I'm sorry to say, when you wear tight clothes, it shows that you're not a movie star or rock star. You don't have that body. And I don't even know if you'd even want to live the life to have that type of body, especially as you get older. And I think men, the same thing. They get tripping out when you start getting older and gray. As for those of you watching, I'm getting gray all over, man. I think the drapes match the carpet. I just haven't checked yet. You know, I can't really see that far down. Jokes, folks, jokes. Lighten up. But yeah, I think that there's a big, giant illusionment of patterns. And like people are trying to re-engineer what other successful people have done. And I think that that's impossible because a lot of things that work for them won't work for you. And the rate of the evolution of technology and just our mentalities and our philosophy things. Well, some philosophies stay for a very, very long time, but basically, in a nutshell, a lot of things change and they become obsolete very, very quickly. So a lot of these things of reverse engineering or copying what other people have done, it ain't really going to work out that way. Doesn't it seem like the more we get the gist of things, we understand the mechanics, we kind of understand what people want, like give without asking anything in return first, and that's basically the most horrible thing you could do to somebody, because then they're just in a good way, because then there's just the generosity and the feeling that warms inside them, like, what? You're kidding me. You just helped me. I spoke about this a lot in my show, about how I got jobs, working for people, how I sold jobs as a business owner, and how I've created community. I'd go in and just do stuff for my neighbors for free. And not all of them, but the majority of them just couldn't handle it. When they saw me in distress, they had to come and help. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I think that disillusionment is just as dark. That's the thing that's holding us back, because we keep measuring ourselves up to what these people have done and what they are doing. And a lot of us never even heard the journey that they had to go through. And I think that's probably a 99.9999% of what's going on. And then we start getting depressed. We start looking at ourselves saying we're old, we're unhealthy, we're fat, we're poor, we're not as rich, we're not as talented. When you should start focusing on the things that actually you are good at. Excuse me. A little burp there from getting all passionate burp. To move on to the next one, which I want to talk about, is exist on the tunnel vision of your dreams. And that's where I look at, it's not necessarily that I'm going out giving the finger, to the world, fuck you, I don't give a shit what you think about me, watch this. I don't even have time for that shit anymore. When I look at my life, I'm so involved and have little time for negativity and small talk and bullshit. That's kind of what I'm finding on these dating sites, man. It's just a bunch of small, fake shit. It's like, dude, just cut the shit out. Get the shit out of your mouth. Tell me exactly who the fuck you are. And let's see if we're even interested, This person I was talking to, I'm glad they just disappeared. They were actually pretty fucking boring. I don't mean to talk bad about people that way, but really, if I'm going to spend time and invest with somebody, my heart, my soul, my energy, kind of would be nice to have somebody who's kind of a little bit on an upbeat, got some shit going on. They kind of know who they are, what they're doing. They got their shit together, not just on money. And don't give a shit about all the things we're talking about today, but give a shit about who I am, and I care about who they are and the important things, and not really, looking at the beauty in life and the adventure. But yeah, to exist in the tunnel vision is just such a beautiful thing, because you get so much done. And as I said, you're not even once looking over saying, I'm driving an old 1996 F-350 diesel truck that's louder than shit with little pizza cutter wheels, very MPG friendly wheels. They're not the big dick tires like the cool guys like to drive around in. I live in a trailer park, in a travel trailer, which I consider a tiny home, better than a tiny home. I keep trading up. I could actually turn around and make a profit off of it. Multiple things. The way I dress, the way I talk, the things I'm interested in. What I've found too is this lifestyle, living in tunnel vision and just doing things. I actually have a story for you guys I did the other day. And there was this lady, a sweet lady, older woman, I think from Switzerland or something, had a heavy accent. And she hired me, or called me to come help her with a construction project. And when I went there, she told me how she painted the whole entire house, kept trying to fix this thing, and she's just trying to do everything she can. She's finally at wit's end, and she's just wanting to sell her home and get out because she's really hurting for money. And she says everybody thinks she's crazy. I says, you know what? I know that I'm crazy. I don't need people to tell me that. And she just started laughing. This is a potential client, people. And just by being human and being real and actually caring about this person, lit up my life. And I've sold jobs like this before by just being wacky, by just going out and saying it. But the wackiness is like I told this one, you want to know how crazy I am? And I told her just like this. I'm going to tell you exactly what the fuck to do, how to fix this thing. You're going to pull your camera out right now, and I'm going to do it absolutely for free, and I'm going to leave. And if you need any help, out of respect because of a woman like you who's painting her entire house, doing all this work and not afraid to get her hands dirty, it's out of respect from a man, from a human being first to another human being, from a man to a woman second. And I actually told her, I wish I could find a woman like you and I'd marry him. And she started laughing. And I opened my arms and said, we're standing on this roof by the beach. And I opened up my arms and said, hey, Merry Christmas. She gave me a big old hug and said, thank you so much, and walked away and gave me a nice shiny 5 stars or something on a review. And I walked away, and it felt super wonderful. And by living the tunnel vision, by just focusing on who I am, what I am, and being secure in myself is what I find when I'm selling jobs and I talk to people like human beings. They can sense it, they can feel it. I've been told it before, like, "Whoa, you're a very interesting individual, very, very honest." And I'd say, "Really? What gives you that impression? You know, you just met me, and like it just feels good." And that's a wonderful thing to say. I don't give a shit how that sounds. We should all be doing those kind of things. So really, stop giving a fuck what people keep feeling the sense I have to recap. Stop giving a fuck what people think of you. Start giving a fuck what you think about you. Start living the tunnel vision of your dreams, and you will get so far. Because one of the things I like to do is do a time audit where I'm talking to people when I used to expend the time, and I'd listen to for about an hour of how we were talking shit and talking about how horrible gathering was, or what this person did, and other people and what they're doing, instead of focusing on solutions to problems, which I tend to do, and I hope we're doing for you guys on the show, is focusing on solutions, not sitting here talking about all the bad shit. And the worst thing is, though, on that, the integrity of the show, is that the bad shit will get millions and millions of likes and views and downloads and whatever have you, whereas the good shit, it's like long forgotten. It's almost like nobody wants to hear the goods. They don't want to hear solutions and stuff. A lot of people just want to dwell on the problems. That's when I say I don't know about the integrity of the show. I think there's a few select people out there that will get it, that actually want to do something, want to find some solutions, and actually maybe go down to the feed, because in a lot of these shows, in all my shows, there's a information where you can get a hold of me, where you can email me, and you can send me your solutions to things that I said. Because I know a lot of these shows, when I start speaking, there's a lot of things, I can't get them all. Like there's some subject matter, and as I go, it's hard to stick to the exact subject matter. I feel like I'm getting better, but you start getting excited and going, "Oh, I forgot to talk about that." So you can't fit everything in there. And in fact, living in tunnel vision, I've come up with this, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, is that usually I do these shows, these podcasts and stuff, and what I'll do is I'll edit them, and as I'm listening to them, it's just that. I'm like, "Oh, I wish I would have mentioned this. Oh, I wish I would have explained that in further detail." So one of the ideas I have, and any of you guys can take this, it's not stealing, it's a gift to you, from me to you, because I like giving. I think it's a explosive, great idea to listen to your shows if you are a content creator as well, and then go make a second show on all the stuff that you didn't say. So the way I see this, like I'm hoping for the future, those people who like my free stuff, that maybe I can make secondary stuff and put that on a private group site or something, and maybe have a membership or something. I don't know. But for now, that's kind of what my plan is for the Facebook private group for Up and In It, is maybe get the time, which we are, for those of you who have been following, I actually have 2021 in the bag, meaning that all of my bills and everything are completely paid off. So I'll have a lot more time to do a lot more podcasts, a lot more shows, depending on what I decide to do with that. I am looking to change my life up a little bit, and I think I might want to continue working, but not as hard, so I can devote more time for you guys, and give you guys free shows, more content, better content, and disperse in different ways. So yeah, take that one. I think that one's a great. So, was watching a movie years ago called Instinct, I think. No, not Instinct. God, I can't remember. It was Anthony, one of the Baldwin brothers, Anthony Hopkins, and what was the movie? They're in the mountains of Alaska, and this bear's trying to kill them. I don't think it was Instinct. It was The Edge. There it is. That was The Edge, and they had to survive for themselves. And he said most people die. You know, they're on their own. All they have is a fucking pocket knife and a watch. You know, and they got to survive. And he was trying to get the guys motivated, like, "Hey, come on, guys, let's keep our heads up and everything." And he said, "You want to know what most people die of?" As they're out in the woods, he goes, "No, what is it?" And this guy's supposed to be a genius, you know, the Anthony Hopkins character. And he says, "Out of embarrassment." And I remember that hit me like a ton of bricks. A lot of people, I think, fail, and they get embarrassed of themselves. They've given a fuck what other people think about them. They didn't really give much fucks about what they think about themselves. They never grew and were birthed into themselves. They were looking at this illusionment, as we spoke of success and happiness, As I say a lot, do you want to be perceived as all these things, or do you actually want to be them? Do you want to own them? Do you want to exist in them? And I think in the embarrassment, when you go too far in your life, which is not irreparable, but if you spent the majority of your life, you get cemented into this ideologies and these things, these traditions as I speak of, and it's very difficult to get out. And in fact, you're embarrassed. You're embarrassed to wear a white and black sock and go walk out in the street and make a buffoon out of yourself. You're embarrassed to open your arms and to offer a hug, even if it's rejected, which is very, very rare. You're embarrassed of yourself. And that's sad. But it doesn't have to be that fucking way. And I want to give you guys, that was a little dark right there, a little heavy, I think. But you guys just need to, it's never too late. Even if you're an old person and you've got all these things suppressed in you and you don't want to let them out. Listen, I've done a lot of that stuff, a lot of that work. I've confronted myself. I've opened myself up to the world. I opened myself up with this show. I think this show and it's, the things I speak about, the motives, the things I'm doing should be a testament of go out there and just say it. Yes, there'll be a lot of people who will be embarrassed by what you said. I've had friends of mine who were embarrassed of things I did at parties or just hanging out with them, waving to a homeless woman. Hey, how you doing today? Like, oh my God, what are you doing? And I'm like, what? It's just a person. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You grow into yourself. Keep breathing and exercising, not giving a shit what somebody thinks, and you will eventually pop out the other end, and then you will no longer be embarrassed of yourself. You won't die of embarrassment. You'll die probably of old age and die with ambition in your heart that, fuck, I wish I could have done more. But I've done a lot. I have almost no regrets. And I think to eradicate all that. Start living your life, and there shouldn't be any regrets. Because the moment you open your eyes and you actually see yourself, and you become yourself, you literally were just born, as I said earlier, as a child with wonderment for adventure, magic, and everything else that comes with it. So, very interesting that a lot of people can't be by themselves. Let's move on to like some of these people, like poets I got on here, gurus. I don't want to mention any names, but philosophers and geniuses, basically, inventors. A lot of people ended up coming up with these wonderful, great things in life by being alone, by being isolated. And some of them on purpose will isolate themselves. Some of these gurus, like from India and stuff and other places, will actually go live in a cave for years and they'll just meditate. And I'm not saying we all got to go live in a cave, Very interesting too, how shamans, which intrigues the shit out of me, how shamans will actually displace themselves. Not all of them, but most of them will be living somewhere so far from where the group is that it takes days to find them. And they live all by themselves. And I think that they're exploring consciousness in themselves. It's a whole podcast in and of itself. That'd be a good Twilight Zone one. But interesting, just take a look. And then you think that these people are wacky and crazy, right? And look at the thousands and thousands and thousands of people who come to beseech their wisdom. Why are these people so wise? What the fuck do these people know that they're staying away from everybody to actually go live in a cave, to make it a treacherous hike of 2-3 days to find them? What do they know that we don't know? I think that they do know. I think that they know that there's an overcrowdment, there's an over-bombardment of what people are doing, and they're living in the tunnel vision, as I spoke earlier, which I feel like I kind of am. I'm my own shaman. Like I said, I don't give a shit how it sounds. I'm my own shaman. I'm my own guru. I'm in a constant meditative state because I'm so far into what I'm doing. I really don't have time for anything else. I really don't care. I want to excel and get to where I'm going and create things. There's always something new. There's always something that I love the work. I love the process of doing these things. That's why I know I'm going to hit something. Really excited about my gardening business, by the way. I think that's what's going to be my bread and butter for me to take care of my two lovely young daughters and my special needs daughter. And I won't stop. But interesting how it is, I'm absolutely all alone and actually pretty content. And I think that it's very wise and healthy. And I think a sign of strength, which doesn't even just like a bodybuilder or some warrior, doesn't mean anything. It means that somebody they were birthed inside themselves They know who they are. They see themselves. And they don't really need to have other people around them, distractions of all these things to keep themselves busy or going or sane. And I think that we're very rare. But I think it would be healthy for a lot of people to spend that time, just a little bit of time, as much as you can, by yourself, in a room somewhere. I would prefer that you go by nature, by a stream, or one of my favorites is the ocean. Just close your eyes, be by yourself, let your mind wander, do some of the breathing exercises, block breathing if you want to look that up, and just sit there and breathe and daydream and listen to the ocean and listen to yourself and resonate into yourself. So, very interesting to me. Nobody cares and nobody gives a shit. It's absolutely perfection. So a lot of you are probably, as we were talking about all of the show, we're ashamed of ourselves. Like we're scared about what we look like, about how other people are going to talk shit about us. You know, like this show, I haven't got any negativity yet, but I'm waiting for it. I'm betting there's some people going to come out and say, you're so full of shit and here's why. And if they got some good stuff, good points, I might adhere to it and start applying it in my life and sharing it with you guys going, dude, I was wrong. I think this stuff's great. But nobody gives a shit. And there's a lot of people that feel lonely and feel like, you know what, nobody gives a shit. And I would say, I'm getting dark again, but I would say absolutely that nobody does give a shit. They don't know, or more accurately, more acutely, they don't know how to give a shit. How could you give a shit about somebody if you don't even give a shit about yourself? And I think that this is one of our things where we're so preoccupied with what's going on with the smoke and mirrors and unimportant things about the aesthetics of things instead of the functionality. And it's really evident when children. I think we can learn a lot. But nobody gives a shit. And when you learn this, you can go make an ass out of yourself. And people are like, oh, what an asshole. They give a shit at that moment to talk shit. But as soon as you're done and you keep going, they're like, yeah, whatever. I got somebody else to point the finger at and say they're a buffoon. So really, in all actuality, we are all alone and by ourselves, but yet we're together. Don't want to freak anybody out here or anything, but really, the only time you were physically, in my opinion, at one, and you were actually with somebody was when you were in your mother's stomach, when you were in her body. You were kept warmth. Your body temperature was her body temperature. What she ate, you ate. What she heard and felt, you felt. That was the only time in your life, in physical comprehension, there's things that go beyond, that you were one. And when you popped out, you were ultimately alone. You will be alone the day you die. There's nothing anybody can do to stop things like that. Although there's some people who suggest different, but that's not what today's subject matter is about. But to know that nobody gives a shit and that you can be anything that you want is a wonderful thing. I think absolute perfection. So that means that you can go out there, guys, and just be you. Go out there and experiment. And these people will slowly fade away in time. If you're confident and you don't truly give a shit what anybody thinks, you have the freedom right there. Just to know. I know that's a hard one. Know that nobody gives a shit and nobody cares. That's a weird one. So to leave that in a good standing, though, I think that the gestures like that woman that I hugged on the roof and gave that job away, we were connected. That's a friend. And I guarantee you we're not alone on a lot of things. We're just alone from the right type of people. And the right type of people who are getting the message that I'm saying here today, you will have a friend for the rest of your life. And that's really the worst case scenario I look at this show, is other people who get it, because I talk a lot like this, out in the open to anybody. I really don't care to mind my tongue. I don't really care to mind my own business and to not shake the crowd. People say some very profound things of how they feel, and they're yelling and they're very passionate about it. And I like to say, to get my passions out as well, I think equal for equal value exchange. I'd like to express my opinion too, but it's not very well taken 99.9% of the time, because I think differently. Everything about me is different, and I don't give a shit. And when people see somebody confident, I think sometimes they like to break them down. But sometimes I think that they're scared too, because they're looking, going, wow, this thing is unstoppable. But I think my message is peace. My message is open-ended. It's about looking for what works, what doesn't work. Not necessarily the truth. I don't know if there's an absolute truth. As Terence McKenna said, one of my favorite people to listen to, it's true enough, and we'll adhere to it. But constantly searching and enjoying the journey except for the destination, because there is no really destination. But yeah, we're not alone. And the more you give, the things that you live by example and you help other people, as I said, there will be people helping you. Some of us instantly can see this in somebody. And I can give you guys an example. You can see somebody has this light in their eyes, that they're looking at you intently. Instead of waiting for their turn to speak, they're absolutely, we all know this. You're talking and this person's like, oh my God, I want to hear what you have to say. They completely understand. They take a moment, they process what you said, and then they speak with they keep building. And a conversation will start building on itself into positivity, like a pyramid, like a skyscraper. And it's on the same subject matter. And the feelings expressed, both mutual, sometimes disagree on what is, but we're agree to disagree. And it's very peaceful. So no, in some senses, we're not alone. And in some senses, when we dream and when we have these feelings, there's something beyond language about physical comprehension where I look at. Not a lot of us are connected. A lot of us are. We just have to learn to use our intuitiveness and stop thinking. Thinking is great. I love thinking. And I love the ingenuity of these things. But stop being lost in all this other bullshit and just start feeling our way through. Because feel enough and you're going to feel your peeps amongst you. So, in all this, to end this show, is inspiration of the self. And this is my new one. I guess I'm going to carpet bomb it all over the place. Inspire yourself, man. Do you guys see all the applications of these thoughts and some of these exercises that I shared with you? That I know some of these I'm probably repeating, but do you see how you can inspire yourself to just get that tunnel vision, to just make what you want, to change what what you are, to change what you're looking at, change what you're looking as. Get those goggles, clean off the windshield of your vehicle to find out where you're migrating, where you're driving to. Inspire yourself that you don't need to have people's opinions. You don't need to have their permission. You don't need to fit inside these sprockets, to be a square peg that has to fit in a round. You can just be you. You should be you. And if you are being you and you're getting ridiculed and people say you don't fit, guess what? You're at the wrong people. And that's one of the things I love about all the things I'm doing. I hope that they fail as soon as possible. That way I don't waste my time and I can move on to the next. I look at that the same thing with people. Same thing with this show. People want help. People have ideas of things they want to do. I want you guys, everybody, to be successful. And I think the key to success from all these so-called monetary gurus and real estate investing gurus and all this shit, there's no quick fucking scheme. There's no get-rich-quick thing. When you get the gist of things, you are unstoppable. When you stop giving a fuck what people think about you and you start exercising the things we spoke, there is nothing that can stop you but you. All you have to do now is make the choice and say, look, I'm not scared to fuck up. I'm not scared to look dumb. I'm going to learn so much, and I'm going to give. And I'll probably look like an idiot and get rejected. But guess what? The ROI, the ratio of positive to negative, outweighs the negative by far when you're just giving and you're out there being yourself. And I think that the majority of people, the reason why they confront us and talk shit is because they're insecure in themselves. And I think that some people may actually even get sad because they look and go, I've trapped myself so far down, so hard, I don't know how to get out of this hole that I'm in, inside this personal cave. I don't even know how to escape it. And watching these people, seeing people like us who don't give a fuck and just flamboyant and just going out there and just doing our shit, I wish I could be like that. As I said, there's some of the dying regrets. I wish that I could have chosen to be happy because I know now that it's a choice, now that everything's ending around me. I wish that I could have done things more for myself, been myself, and not trying to please others. So you guys, that's the show. Kind of deep there, huh? A little bit. I don't know. Not for me. Hope I didn't scare you guys off. But if you like this sort of thing, go check out TikTok, Instagram, the private Facebook group. I post these shows on YouTube. And of course, there's anywhere where you can find the iTunes, at the podcasts and stuff like that. And it's all at Up and In It. You guys can also check out my gardening show. I think I'm going to try to promote it for people here who are the listeners that I have. It's biodegradable container gardening on YouTube. The B as in boy, C as in cat, gardening guy on Instagram, BC Gardening Guy. And as I always say, guys, go out there and have yourself a near-life experience. Don't lose your muchness. Carry on the fire. Human up. Live it, love it, own it. And from my third eye, bone it, my friends.